Hello, yellers. Welcome back to Why Am I Yelling? Musings from a Middle-Aged Menopausal Mom. I'm your host, Krista Rizzo. Today's show parents contributor, proud Yukon mom, go Huskies, and survivor of multiple college move-in days. In today's episode, we're talking about one of the biggest emotional plot twists in parenting, sending your kids off to college. And listen, this is not just about packing up their XL twin sheets, their ramen noodles, and a questionable number of hoodies. I'm constantly questioning the number of hoodies. This is about packing up your baby, the one that you used to rock to sleep, and delivering them to their new life. So grab your tissues and maybe a snack because we are going in. So I don't know about you, but when my now college junior, which I can't even believe I'm actually saying those words because it just feels like it was yesterday that he was in kindergarten or pre-K or daycare, or graduating high school, right? He was a senior in high school and I was a complete wreck that year. I cried at all of the things, right? I mean, it probably doesn't help that I'm already an emotional being, but with a heightened awareness of knowing that time with him was shrinking, I couldn't stop reminiscing about all the stages of his life that we had already been through up to that time. Because once upon a time, I was a new parent, logging milestones in baby books and encouraging walking and talking, navigating daycare and school and activities and sleepovers, connecting with other moms on the playground to make friends, building relationships, and having those friends turn into people that I consider family. Watching time go by faster and faster than I would actually like for it to. So I know that you're going through a lot right now. And so whether it's a kindergarten graduation or a high school graduation, you will wonder where it all went because you blinked. And my mom used to say all the time, don't blink because it goes so fast. Now we're here. You're standing in your doorway. You're looking at an overstuffed car, wishing for 5 more minutes of childhood with your baby. And I know what you're saying. You're saying to yourself, are you kidding me? What is happening? How is my baby old enough to be going off to college? I call these kinds of moments emotional whiplash. 1 minute, you are swelling with pride because you've raised this amazing, independent young adult. And the next minute, you're sobbing into a Costco-sized box of granola bars, wondering who's going to eat all this food that you just bought. Your emotions are on high alert, and that is okay. And here's why it's okay that this emotional cocktail is totally normal, right? The love and pride that you have for your kid and children and is just natural, right? You spent 18 years growing a human, figuratively and literally. You've watered them with knowledge. You have provided for them. You're being their number one phone call when they need anything. The person that they go to for advice and guidance. Or even, as high school seniors, when they're hurt, they hurt themselves, they fell down, all those things, right? They're your babies. I get it. I have them too. The idea that your identity is shifting is scary because your role as a 24/7 parent changes overnight. And that doesn't mean that, you're not a parent anymore. You're done. You've washed your hands of it and you've finished your parenting journey. It just means that the reality of them not being home every day hits, right? The dynamic that in your household is about to change. Relationships that they're building that you won't even know about. Because let's face it, they're not going to tell you everything. They probably currently already don't tell you everything, but you feel like you know more because they're with you and they live with you. And that worry factor is real, right? Thinking about them being on campus away from you. Now, my child is only an hour and a half away from us, which we didn't think was going to be the case for a very long time. He made his decision last minute. And we live in Connecticut, so he's close to us. But I get it, right? There are some families who have their kids across the country and in different states and all those things, and it takes a long time to get to them. And so your worry factor is real, right? Are they eating? Are they making friends? How are they liking their classes? You just hope and pray that they're ready for this milestone in their lives. And if you're anything like me, you have joined all of the Facebook groups that for the school that they go to, for the parents, right? I spent a lot of time in those Facebook groups his senior year, especially when we found out the decision that he made to go to UConn. I joined all the parenting groups, all the Facebook groups, and I, got all the information that I needed when it came to registrations and deadlines and timelines and dorm moving in and things that they needed for the dorm that, even though I'm a super organized human, I didn't know they were going to need. But then also, as you're going through these Facebook groups and you're kind of, connecting with other parents, you're seeing stories of kids that are not acclimating well or didn't acclimate well in their first years. They had roommate disasters. They didn't like the food that the school was providing, like all the things that, make us worry. And those are small things. Those are things that, we can get over. But the minute we realize or they find out that they're homesick, our first reaction is to go get them, right? Wrap them in bubble wrap and stick them up on a shelf because that's what we've wanted to do with them their whole lives. They are your heart. And so I get that we all have this, did I do enough syndrome, right? The mental checklist of skills that we have given to our children that we hope and pray that we have taught them beyond just being a good human, right? The kindness, the compassion, the be a good friend, the awareness, like those things we try to instill in them every single day. It's really the stuff that we want to make sure that they know. Laundry basics, budgeting their money, not getting scammed on Facebook Marketplace, making good choices when they are out and about during hours of the evening that we are sleeping in real life as their parents, right? It's the mental highlighting reel of should haves. I should have done this. Did I do this? And we're constantly questioning ourselves because we want to make sure that the work that we have done has resonated with them, even if they can't fold a sheet to save their lives, right? When you are watching them interact with their friends and coaches and teachers and other people who are not you, that's when you realize you've done your job. There is nothing that brings me more pride than watching my children interact out in the wild. There is nothing that brings me more pride than having another parent or another person in their lives compliment my children when I'm not around them to me. I had this great experience with your son. This one said this and is such a kind person. This one had such a great conversation with me. They might not be doing those things to you at home. And it proves to you that they don't really need us as much as we thought they did or really wanted them to or believed that they needed to, right? It's an incredible experience to be a parent and have other people recognize that you have done a great job growing your humans. And while that should be enough to reassure you or us that we have done enough, I get it. I understand that we are always going to worry. My mom used to say that about me, and we lived states apart. She lived in Florida. I lived in the Northeast, and she'd say, I worry about you every single day. I know that you're an adult and you're a mom and you have 2 kids, but I'm your mother, and I'm going to worry about you until I'm no longer on this planet, right? So it's okay to feel these feelings, and I encourage you to feel these feelings. I think it's really important to have these feelings. And then, when you feel like you've got your checklist and you have, all the things checked off for the stuff they need for their dorm, and you're reassuring yourself that you've done a good job as a parent, you come to drop-off day. And I will say this candidly, that was quite possibly one of the worst days of my life. And he's only an hour and a half away. And we were going to see him like 5 days after he moved in to go to a football game. But, it's hard. It's a weird dance of trying to be helpful without hovering. but also them. I have boys, and they did not and don't care about what kind of sheets they have and what their room is going to look like. And they did not, confer with their roommates other than, are you bringing the fridge? I'm bringing the Xbox. I have a TV. I have a rug kind of thing. Nobody cared about the colors. Nobody cared about the theme. All my friends that had girls were like, oh my gosh, we are in the thick of it with, meeting with the roommate, and they've both, got the same matching bedding and all the things. And I was like, that's not my experience at all. My experience is, it'll be fine, mom. I'll get what I need. It's not a big deal, right? And if you're anything like me, you are with checklists. This year, he's moving off campus. And yesterday he said to me, I don't really need that much. I need a laundry basket. We got the dresser. I need a bed and maybe a shower curtain. And I looked at him and I was like, oh, let me introduce you to my spreadsheet. And so I shared my Google Sheet with him, and it has by room a list of all the things that these boys are going to need to move into their house successfully that a parent would think that they need. Probably 98% of the things that are on this list is not something any of them would even consider to think about until they actually needed it in that moment. Like maybe a garbage bag or a paper towel. So I get it, right? We're standing on the cusp of this, oh my God, I'm about to let you go. And I'm not sure that you're going to be able to survive out there. So let's see how this goes, right? We're rolling the dice and we are crossing our fingers and we are hoping for the best for all of the people involved. And so now here you are. It's drop-off day. You are a pile of emotions. You're trying to move your child into their dorm and get everything set up and get them unpacked and show them where they are, where their stuff is, and how you're organizing it for them, because that's what I did. And that's what the mom who was unpacking next to me did too. So I wasn't alone in that process, right? And now you have to say goodbye. And it's emotional for sure. Like, there was not a dry eye in the dorm room when we were saying goodbye to him. And it was also the same day that my little guy had his middle school orientation for 6th grade. So we had to go straight from UConn, the move-in dorm day, to our parent orientation at middle school. And of course, all of our friends knew where we were coming from. And, we said our goodbyes. We cried like babies. My big one was like, hasta la vista, see you later. I cannot wait to start my new life, which is exactly how I was when I went to college. I distinctly remember that. And then my dad said, your mother cried the entire 6-hour drive home from school because I was 6 hours away from my parents. I didn't cry the whole way home, but my little guy sure did. And that, I think, is also reassurance for you as a parent that you've done a good job, because you know that you're going to miss them. And you know that, see, I still get emotional. And he's still here, by the way. Like, he hasn't moved out yet for this year. And we're all ready for him to go, for sure. He's ready to go. We're ready to go. Like, you get into a groove. And I will definitely cry again when he leaves again, but I'll probably see him in a week or two after he goes, right? But that's just reassurance again that you have a great connection with your child, and your children's siblings have a great connection with each other. And when they look up to them, right? My kids are 6 years apart. So my little guy looks up to my big guy tremendously. He wears, his brother's high school jersey number for all of his sports jerseys. Like, he wants to be just like his big brother, which I think is lovely, but he's also his own person. And we have to make sure that we focus on that too. But when you're saying goodbye to a piece of your family, a large part of your dynamic, you can't help but wonder, what happens next? Like, how are we all going to survive this? Here's a little insight. Spoiler alert. You do. We all do. It may not be what you envisioned. It might be different. And then you have, all these new boundaries that your teenager is going to set for you. right? The communication rules. Are you still tracking them on Life 360? How often are you going to text each other and call each other? For the first year, I joined Snapchat. Then when my son was away from at school. And we snapped each other every day for the first probably all the way until I think spring break. And then after he left for spring break and came back from his trip to Florida, we still do, but it's not as often. He still snaps me. We text each other. We talk a lot. But what's the right amount of time that goes by before you hear from your child, especially when you are used to talking to them every single day? Are you going to, text them every single day? Or are you just going to send them a heart emoji? Or are you just going to say thinking of you and then try to make them feel guilty so they text you back? Like, what is the MO here, right? Obviously, we all want to be a fly on the wall. I mean, raise your hand if you want to go back to college because, college sure does seem like a good time. And it was a good time when I was there. But it's a better time now. And they really do have it all figured out at the schools, I think, in a lot of ways. And the kids do an exceptional job of figuring it out for themselves. And that's not to say that your child might not have or might have a bump in the road, because they all do, right? My son called when he thought he failed a test. And he was like, if I fail this test, I might fail the class. And if I fail the class, I should just drop out of college. Like, he's very dramatic that way. And then a couple days later, he said, well, here's the thing. I ended up getting an 80 on the test because 90% of the kids failed it. And then when they, graded on a curve. And I said, welcome to college, son. You're not failing. If you're trying, you're not, right? So making sure that you have your communication rules and your boundaries figured out and you're doing what's expected of you on both ends, from the parenting end and from the student end. I think that's really important. Like, you should let them know what you expect as well. Because here's the thing. This whole thing is not the end, right? This is a shift in your relationship with your kids. It's a shift in your life, right? You have potentially graduated from full-time chauffeur, chef, and life manager to now full-time mentor, cheerleader, and I'd like to call myself the occasional Venmo sponsor. But in all seriousness, this is a chance for you to rewrite your narrative. And some of you might be empty nesters, because I have some friends who were one and done. And I have friends who are further along in the parenting journey and have dropped off all of their children and they've all left the nest. And that's awesome. And some of you might still have more kids at home, like myself. And now you're having to learn how to navigate that new household dynamic with one less person in it. But instead of looking at it like a loss, as some people do, see it as an opening. You get to rediscover things. Like, for example, if you're an empty nester, you can maybe pick up a hobby that you ignored, that something you used to do before you had kids that you'd like to do again. But now that your kids are gone, you can go and do those things, right? You can take a trip that you postponed because all the things, right? You start reading books without being interrupted every 5 minutes for mom, dad, I need this. What are you doing? And then if you still have kids at home, like me, you might have more time for a date night with your partner, or a weekend afternoon to explore a new place or a new activity with your other kids, because you have one less sporting event to attend or one less thing that your other child was required to do, right? This is your introduction to envisioning your empty nest if you're not an empty nester. And yes, it can definitely feel scary, because at some point you're going to look at your life partner, your spouse, your co-parent, and you're going to be like, well, what's next? Right? So it's totally cool to sit with your feelings, and I encourage you to do that. It's a big adjustment, and there's really so much to look forward to. We had a transition in our house where we definitely, missed our son a lot. And I would talk to him every day. My husband would text with him. But I think that now 3 years into it. We're starting year 3 next week. We're definitely more prepared and we're more experienced and we're ready for different conversations. My son called the other day. He was away for the weekend and he called my husband, and my husband was like, after they got off the phone, he said, I wonder when the feeling of trepidation is going to go away when I see his name come up on my phone screen. Like, what happened? And I'm like, I don't ever think that. That's not something that even crosses my mind. If he's calling me, he's asking me a question. What's this? What's that? What time is dinner? Those are the biggest questions that I get from him. Or, a question about something else that might be important to him. But I never think, oh my gosh, what happened? That's the difference between the two of us in our house for sure, right? Setting healthy boundaries is important when you're rewriting this narrative with yourself and with your kids and with this new life that is taking shape for you. You got to figure it all out, and you got to be okay with letting them make mistakes. And sometimes their mistakes are going to be big, especially when they don't have you kind of whispering in their ear all the time because they don't live with you anymore full time. That you kind of have to just let it go and hope for the best and try to keep your expectations in check. And, 3 things I tell my kids: I be happy, make good choices, and I love you. And I constantly kind of try to remind them of those things every day in some way, shape, or form, especially the make good choices piece, because they are going to be exposed to things that they may have never been exposed to before. And they are going to have to make choices that are difficult for them. Whether to do this or this. What's more important? Pay attention. You're there for a reason. You're at school for a reason. There's a lot of reasons why you're there, but you're there for a major reason. And that is to continue to grow and learn and be educated and become a productive human out in the workforce and in life, so you can be a productive partner and parent as your child, right? Healthy boundaries are important because, if you're me, you want to just, bake some chocolate chip cookies and run up to the dorm and drop them off and say hi. You're not allowed to do that, by the way. But you are allowed to have conversations with them and say, I miss you and I wish I could do this. And is it okay if you can ask permission. And that's cool because now you're asking permission to say, hey, I want to be in your life on your terms. So would you mind if I came up on a Saturday and took you to lunch and baked cookies for, the guys in the house? Or took you and your roommate out to, the soccer game that's happening on Saturday afternoon? Because we want to come and see that. It's a whole new shift to be excited about and look forward to, I think. And in my experience, that's been what it is. We have figured out how to navigate this dynamic of respecting his boundaries and what he wants as an adult, and him also respecting ours. So this is my pep talk for you. You have raised a human who is ready to step out into this world, and that is no small feat. So be proud, let yourself feel all the feelings, and then embrace this chapter. And yes, it might take a little bit longer for you than them. They may have already embraced it the minute they shut their dorm door in your face when you left. But this isn't just the next chapter for him or them or her. It's the next chapter for you too. And I know that's easier said than done, because I am sure that I'm going to be crying next week when I leave my big kid again for the 3rd time at his house with his new roommates, in his own room, with his own car, up to his own devices. But that's all right. I have good expectations. And I know you do too. So before we sign off on today's episode, let's talk about what's dinner. Tonight I'm making sausage and peppers. I'm trying to make all of his favorites before he goes away, because I don't know what he's going to eat when he's there. He seems to think that, food's just going to materialize the way it did in the dining hall, that he doesn't have a meal plan for anymore, that he's moving off campus. So tonight is sausage and peppers. It's one of his favorites. It's a good Italian fallback recipe, even though it's 900 degrees outside where I live. But that's what's for dinner tonight. So let me know in the comments what your dinner is this evening and what your college kids' favorite dinner is that you make for them. And share that in the comments. In the comments. Okay, that's it for today. If this hit you in the heart, please share it with another parent who's in the trenches. Remind them that they've got this because you do have this. And if you feel like you don't, it's okay. You can cry in the car. You can cry in the Target parking lot. You can cry in the shower. And then you can call your kid and say that I miss you, because that's okay too. I love you. I am thinking of you as you are all, getting ready to take this giant leap into this chapter of your life and their life. And it's so exciting. It's so exciting. I'm wishing you all the best. I'm sending you my love, and I will see you back here next week. Bye, everybody.